Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much, Andrea, for the nice introduction, and for Francesco for inviting me today to open the second day of session and works at these EventX. So today, oh yeah, yes. Today we are going to just give a very preliminary introduction about the pharmaceutical therapies. As you can see here on the right part of this slide, you can see that mainly the different kinds of therapeutics can be divided into two different major groups: large molecules and small molecules. As you can see, there are almost 50% for each one. But you can see the small molecules are called more conventional drugs, meaning actually there's not really much to be done in a matter of innovation, except for a few stuff about computational chemistry and manufacturing. But instead, I like to focus on the 44% for the large molecules. These include several different kinds of therapies, completely new therapies, like cell therapy, gene therapy, monoclonal antibodies, mRNA therapeutics, and antibiotic resistance. So we are going to dig deeper in each single one in the next few slides. So I want you to focus more on the market value and the center of the slide than all the other information you can see on the sides. That's because cell therapy has been for so long in this market, in the R&D, that recently, they switched completely strategy. Instead of using cell therapy as a potential replacement therapy, they started using cell therapy more from an inflammatory point of view. And especially, you might have heard recently about the CAR T cells. Now, that's why actually we have a double-digit CAGR, composite annual growth rate of 22.67%. That's because we're focusing in the next 10 years on big advancement in this field. And Novartis is definitely one of the top and the lead in this market. Gene therapy, you might have heard about the gene editing therapies, but that's not only. We're speaking about CRISPR, Cas9 therapies, and so on and so on. So even in this case, it's almost double digit, almost 20%, but here you can see it's almost 19%. The main one is Roche, and the second one emerging is CRISPR, but you can name it several different kind of competitor CRISPRs. In this case, we might have Intellia, Editas, in the CRISPR-Cas9. So, but unfortunately for these such innovative therapies, you see that there are some kind of pitfalls or drawbacks that the people are facing the R&D, and especially right now, likely in the clinical studies, including a potential oncogenic activity by these new technologies. But luckily, there's a lot of hope for the people who still suffer of genetic mutations, as you can see in example in cancer or even the muscular disease area. So that's why we're switching to the next topic, which is monoclonal antibodies. Monoclonal antibodies has been for so long in the therapeutic market, but still right now in 2024, we are facing a quite challenge to diversify this kind of therapeutics to make more precise, less immunoreactive. So that's why actually people are focusing on CAGR 12.4 for monoclonal antibodies. That's the old school fashion style of developing the antibodies. But you can see on the right side instead for the ADC, the antibody drug conjugate, that's something that people are developing right now in the R&D. So they are right now entering in the clinical studies, and we hopefully to see a lot of results coming, especially from the main sector, from the main leader, Pfizer, and coming after immediately Immunogen here in Europe with an amazing platform therapy. For the next one, mRNA therapeutics, very likely all the people attending today have heard about the Moderna, BioNTech, all the different vaccines during the COVID time, the COVID-19. So right now, these companies are facing a huge problem moving forward and developing something more than just vaccine. So just recently, it's news of a few days ago, Moderna reshaped completely its pipeline, moving out from COVID, different kind of virus infection diseases. But unfortunately, they cut down the different kind of therapies as a strategy point of view for the pipeline, cutting down all the oncology. That's because mRNA techniques is absolutely great, amazing new technique. We actually have shown very amazing results during the COVID time, but unfortunately it's facing several different kind of problems. An example for the cancer, moving through the microenvironment, which actually is unfortunately very challenging for these molecules. So, and for the antibiotic resistance, that's something unfortunate that we start facing the last 50, 70 years. The bacteria start creating a new resistance to normal antibiotics, so we need to create new antibiotics, and so far actually been pretty challenging, but unfortunately new bacteria, new antibiotic resistance are coming out. So we need to keep track of these infections, so that's actually specifically in this field, Merck is receiving a lot, and let's say a lot of grants from government as well, because it's the social burden as well, having kind of infection from antibiotic-resistant bacteria. So I want you to focus more on the top part of the slide and the bottom. Actually, these are the tech trends and socioeconomic impact, specifically speaking for the pharmaceutical therapies. So you can see on the left, the antibody and oligonucleotide conjugate. So we're not speaking anymore about just antibody and oligos. We're combining these two together. That's actually where the R&D is moving forward and trying to advance as much as possible. We're speaking about oncolytic virus therapies as well as being used for gene editing technology as well. The dual targeted ADC, as I showed before in the previous slide, the gene therapies using lentiviral vectors. Gene therapy is absolutely great, amazing, has shown pretty amazing results in preclinical and in vivo animal models. But unfortunately, combined with the lentiviral vectors, that's because we're facing a major problem about the delivery itself. And therapeutics exosome, with several pros and cons, because for the exosome has been shown to be amazing particles containing biomarkers, and so that's absolutely used for potential strategy. People are still involved on creating new exosome as a potential therapeutics. So this is the last slide. So just focusing what actually as an innovation process, the therapeutics and the pharmaceutical market is facing from now on, for at least for the next 5-10 years. First of all, it's about the off-target effects in CRISPR and base editing pose safety concerns, including cancer risk. That's why CRISPR is the leading company right now in the CRISPR-Cas9 technology. And they are start re-challenging themselves in the phase 2 for their product, because the FDA and the EMA are looking very carefully and deeply on the potential oncogenic effect. The second point is about delivery challenging, especially in solid tumor, limited mRNA therapies beyond vaccine. That's why actually I told you about Moderna. So they are shipping completely their pipeline. Their stock price are completely down almost 200% from the last few weeks. That's because the cancer is still quite untreatable, at least for these kind of technologies, for the mRNA technology, due to the different microenvironment effects. The third one is complex manufacturing process hinders scaling of ADC, exosome, and viral therapies. That's because we are speaking about large molecules. We're not speaking about small molecules. Small molecules are pretty easy and straightforward, let's call it this way, for the CMC, for manufacturing. Here in this case, instead, we're speaking for something very challenging, even for the manufacturing facilities. So it's not anymore that you knock at the door of CDMO asking for a potential service. Even the CDMO itself, and even in some cases, even the regulatory agencies like FDA and the EMA, they face challenges on acquiring new information about new technologies. And definitely AI. It's kind of a buzzword at this meeting, but the lack of digital infrastructure delays AI adoption in pharmaceutical development. We have seen that in the R&D in the pharmaceutical market, we are collecting a lot of information, but we don't know very much to do what to do with this kind of information at the end. So that's why combining artificial intelligence with such enormous data source would be very helpful for not the company itself, but for all the market and all the pharmaceutical companies as well, with immediately results in the society as well. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much for this extremely interesting presentation. We have time for one question. Do we have? Okay, may I ask one? No, just one. I was waiting for. The question is if you think of all these hindrances and all these difficulties and many possible barriers that you illustrated, how do you see the possible development for rare diseases? Because in those cases, the economical value is something that may somehow impair the development.
So based on my experience, because actually I was working in the neurodevelopmental area, including some rare disorders like Rett syndrome and Fragile X syndrome, I can say from the regulatory standpoint of view, the FDA and the EMA, including, they try to facilitate as much as possible, but anyway, without creating any kind of burden for the society and especially for the patients. They try to facilitate the advancement of the new technologies toward the preclinical and clinical IND-enabling studies and the clinical studies as well, providing the fast-track designation or fast-track designation and so on, trying to, in some cases, even provide grants to support the research. And that's more for the regulatory standpoint of view. From the R&D, unfortunately, I can say, and working in academia right now, that thanks to institutions like Teleton or even the European and the worldwide organization, including sometimes the organization of patients, it's a way to communicate and share data and scientific knowledge with different research groups around the world, because unfortunately there's not many academic research groups within the same university and sometimes even the same country. So that's better to share the common knowledge and scientific knowledge with all around the people worldwide.
Thank you very much. So.